First music experience of any kind, I think, was when I was a really small child and my dad played guitar, so he had it on like a stand somewhere in the dining room and like touching the strings and the noise that the strings made.
My mum was cleaning the kitchen. She was listening to Simply Red, and we had this big dining table, and she just polished it, and I was just spinning around on my stomach.
First music experience was probably when I was given a classical guitar for my 10th, 11th birthday.
I've got a little book that I used to write all my songs in. I think the earliest song I wrote was when I was maybe 7 or something, and they're so lame. I think the first song I ever wrote was called Just a Minute Away from Love. It was awful.
But you were 7.
But yeah, I was
What on
7.
earth? What were you thinking about that for? A minute away from love at 7 years old?
My parents told me the first time I ever sang a song was to REM's Happy Shiny People. And I was about 3, and I was in the back of their Buick car.
I used to set up, I used to do like little mock gigs and stages, and I'd get like the family stereo and get my like Lego men out and then build like pretend stages and stuff and have like them as like characters, which is kind of, I don't know if it's a memory, but that kind of inspiration to do music and like the whole concert thing.
I actually didn't go to a proper gig until I was about 21, and I was very academic all the way up until then.
The first time I went on stage with a band I was playing on, and that's when it hit me, like playing in a band wasn't for me. It was too nerve-wracking, too many eyes looking at you, it was too awkward.
I did used to write music. I was in a band when I was 15. We were called the Arty Fuffkins. I played synth. And then I had a really horrible boyfriend who told me that I sucked, basically, and I believed him and kind of stopped doing it.
So when I was 14, yeah, I didn't really have any self-confidence at all. And it took me ages to kind of have any confidence in music, really.
I didn't get on very well at school. I was kind of bullied and put upon, and I always wanted to be cool. And then, so I always had this fantasy of turning up at school as an adult and playing synthesizers in front of all the kids and going, look how cool I am.
I had a lot of angst at that age, and I felt very ostracised, and I didn't pick up an electric guitar or a guitar for so long because I thought it was too late, that I'd never be good enough, and yeah.
Through a lot of my earlier childhood, I was always interested in music, but too kind of shy to do anything with it. But when I got to be a teenager, I decided it was like be a rock star or die.
Music does get hold of you, and it does physically affect you, and it gives you goosebumps, and you feel a rage, or you feel sorrow, you cry. That's from music.
I think when we started, we definitely talked about sort of wanting to write songs that were short and that were catchy and that people could relate to, because for me, that's what music's given me. It's given me something to relate to when I've felt completely alone, and I kind of want to reciprocate that.
When I was a teenager, music really was a therapy for me. In fact, I did a lot of songwriting in those years, and if something happened to me that I had to digest in some way, I would always write a song about it, a terrible teenage song. But if I didn't get the chance to express myself in that way, then things would be bottled up, and it would be terrible, to be honest with you.
I think it's just expressing myself. I have depression and I have different things, so for me it's a way of, I kind of, it sounds a bit dark, but I make music because I'm unhappy, not because I'm happy. So it's a form of, like a cathartic type thing.
My solo stuff is definitely really therapeutic. The moment of creation is far more important than the live show. With that, for me, that's about just what's going on at the time, and that kind of, yeah, it's just about losing myself.
There's so many artists out there that make music that speak different stories, and it's like reading. You get an insight into other people's minds and outlooks, and you can take music on the surface or read more into it and slowly change perceptions.
What makes you want to create a song? It's questions like that I often almost try and avoid in my own head because they're really, really tricky, and I think there's a certain kind of magic which is almost worth not defining in case you spoil it.
I think the desire to create, I was thinking about this before we came in, I think the desire to create, for me, there's a certain amount of facing failure. I never, ever think I get it right. And before I'll have an idea, and just as I'm starting to execute it, the kind of thrill, I suppose, is facing the failure of it, of which is inevitable because of the self-doubt.
I think I really respect the people that are so passionate about it and really trying to make it for themselves, really trying to do it on their own terms, because people don't just get signed to huge labels anymore. It's just, I don't think it really works like that anymore.
It's one of those, it's a weird industry and amazing people do it, but I think it's got to take the right people to throw themselves in, and there's no easy, I mean, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it.
There's a lot of people, even a lot of talented people, that want to be involved in music, even outside of being a rock star, whether it's being a journalist or a promoter or anything like that. So even if you're good, it's still hard to break in, and if you do break in somewhat, it's still hard to make money out of it.
The problem is that people can't get paid for it anymore because there's so much is made and so much is downloaded.
I remember having a meeting with like a careers advisor at school, and they said, oh, you know, what do you want to do when you leave school? And I was like, oh, I want to be in a band and I want to go on tour, I want to like do that kind of thing. And they said, oh, well, that's not going to be very likely.
It's like swimming in the barrier reef or like fucking skydiving somewhere. You're just in something that's amazing and you enjoy it. You're either good at it or you're not, but that doesn't matter really. If you're doing it, you're doing it, and that's the important thing. Whether everyone else thinks you're a piece of shit, it's fine, as long as you're enjoying it. That's what it's about, right?
Yeah, and I think it's about exploring.
Sorry, just a sip.